welcome you all to the valedictory ceremony of the 9th International Conference on Narratives of Troubled Times, Reflection in Studies of Humanities. It's wonderful to see everyone's zeal for the cause still alive and well. To begin the ceremony, I'd like to invite Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, our eminent director and professor at Amity School of Languages, the embodiment of wisdom and enlightenment, who has enabled us to fly towards the limitless sky of success. The divine aura that surrounds her makes our experience at Amity School of Languages a little more transcendental. I request her to greet the dignitaries and participants in today's session. Over to you, ma'am.
Ma'am, you are on mute. Please unmute yourself.
So good afternoon, everybody. I take this opportunity to welcome all our expert speakers, our dignitaries, faculty, students. We have been transacting on the importance of narratives, and we have seen that the space we provided to share the feelings, the transactions of turmoil and trouble and loss couldn't have been more relevant. Great narratives provide didactic commentaries on universal themes in the drama of life and visceral lessons of leadership. The careful reading of narratives, timeless novels, seem to emerge as astute protagonists. The readers look at themselves as astute protagonists of their own stories. In the context of the grandeur, of the grander narrative and internalizing of universal themes of the human story. Students of great works of literature also emerge culturally literate with a better understanding of themselves and others in relation to nobler virtues, traditions, and purpose. In addition to demonstrating great works of literature as among the first formal books on leadership, the study of narratives are a bridge between the robust literary world and the leadership and management genre. Language and literature uniquely develops leaders to have sophisticated understanding of historical and contemporary cultures, events, and people. Powerful narratives either promote or diminish human flourishing. The usefulness of all great narratives, stories, literature are in shaping, engaging, workplace narratives that inspire and engage the collective. Language and literature equips leaders and managers with knowledge and skills to embrace the drama of leadership and engage in making sense to help organizations thrive. Years back, I remember that we had a very successful international conference on literature, language, and communication, an essential trident. Narratives form 2/3 of that trident. That is writing and reading. But the third factor, the most important, that is communication. Without communication, narratives would lose their piercing sense, and we called it language, literature, and communication, an essential trident. Like the great trident of Lord Shiv, These three components give strength, give power to people or readers of narratives, communicators of narratives, and writers of narratives. The essential purpose of this conference was to inspire, inform, and entertain a diverse readership. We are living in a communication design epoch which marks tradition from gray matter to hard disk. The world swiftly moves towards a cyber democratic setup. Cyber democracy believes that internet technology has a metamorphic influence over a global society. However, this whole affair of technology in our era describes the scratch, not the itch, meaning thereby that technology-obsessed era offers the facade of human life, not the soul. The soul lies in the narratives that come as first-hand experiences of authors, writers, and poets. The spirit, blood, and sinew of human affair is based on communication, which is based on language. And finally, both culminate into the premier feat of human cognizance, which is literature, in other words, narratives. These three facets, language, literature, communication, expose a terrain of human psychology which is intricate to comprehend for an individual in the limited spell of his life. Through these various sections of paper reading, the experts speaking on the topic, I am sure our students have heard about didactic commentaries on universal themes. And those themes boil down to the fact that troubled times also come with reflective times, also come with a silver lining of setting your mind, igniting your minds with new thoughts, and the limitations of being quarantined sort of force you into writing what you feel without being able to convey. Hence, these narratives of troubled times are not only a reflection of history, are not only a reflection of the socio-cultural times that people have faced, but also of making deductions, critically analyzing what life teaches us through literature, literature being at base the criticism of life. These narratives teach us that beyond power and pelf, beyond glory and money, there is another terrain to be conquered. And the sooner you master the terrain, the sooner you get to know yourself, the sooner you conquer your conscience and realize that ultimate truth is Satchidanand. Means truth is the prime, supreme power. And who's in that supreme power? Where does that Satchidanand lie? The Satchidanand is what is in your hearts, in your spirit, which ultimately brings you to perfect Anand. And what is that Anand? That satisfaction, that well-being, the feeling of well-being and satiation that comes from your internal conscience, that conscience, Atma, which is joined in line with Paramatma. So basically, if these papers, this knowledge that has come through various experts, various paper writers, and I'm happy to share that there were 52 papers read with 8 international experts giving their diverse opinions from all parts of the world, must have enlightened you and also provoked you to think mankind is one. We are one in our suffering, and as one, we can rise above troubles, turmoils, and the difficult times. So, universal brotherhood, Vasudev Kutumbakam, is not only in nomenclature but a fact. That together, because of this internet connectivity, in spite of being isolated at homes, we could connect to people, we could share with people, we could empathize with people, we could borrow their pains, and we could also, bestow happiness through small gestures. And that is what makes us, all of us living on the subcontinent of India, being called survivors through ages, through centuries. Why have Indians survived on this great soil of this small peninsula? They have been leaders in world thought. They have been leaders in fighting off all sorts of atrocities, subjugation to mighty powers, and yet have emerged to be survivors with a human heart. Not very many continents can boast of that, which we in the small subcontinent, in the small peninsula, can boast and raise our heads and say proudly, I am an Indian, because I know how to reflect. I know how to live in this universal Kutumbakam. I know that I will rise above troubled times and have full faith in that divinity which will strengthen us to come out of these troubled times. With these words, I thank all our participants, research scholars, faculty members, my own team from Amity School of Languages, students, the management, the Vice Chancellor and the Pro-Vice Chancellor. With these words, I take leave and leave the platform for some more words that not only make sense to you, but logically make sense to you. So, thank you so much for being a block that stood together, joining hands.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for sharing your wise comments. You're truly an inspiration. Professor Dr. Sunil Dhaneshwar, Pro-Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh, could not grace the occasion as he has been called for some urgent work, but with his support, we'll continue with our conference. Learners are the lifeblood of any educational establishment, and our university is indeed home to a diverse group of outstanding students and educators, making for a fascinating adventure and a wonderful journey. With that, I request Ms. Ilma Khan from semester 6 and Ms. Anushka Biswas from semester 4 to present a short yet a captivating PowerPoint presentation illustrating the ASL department and the enormously huge university before the audience. Over to you both.
Thank you so much, Kajal. I hope the PPT is visible.
Yes, Ilma, it is visible. You can carry on.
A beautiful afternoon to one and all present here. Today, I, Ilma Khan, and my co-presenter,
Anushka Biswas, welcome you all to the 9th International Conference, which is organized by Amity School of Languages, Lucknow campus.
let's have a closer view about our university with us. About the university. Amity University, Lucknow is a research and innovation-driven university that aims to impart quality education to all its students. Established in 2004, it has 17 institutions that cater to 87 programs, having more than 5,000 students. The 40-acre state-of-the-art campus is a fine blend of global education, training, and research within an academic ambience.
Personality development at Amity University. Personality development is a great focus at Amity University as students are trained in areas like personal grooming, effective communication, and leadership skills. It also encourages extracurricular activities like dramatics, singing, dance, fashion designing, etc. We have several clubs in the university for promoting these: the Underdogs and the Contagious Dance Club, Toastmasters Club, and many more.
Various events at Amity University. Amiphoria is an annual cultural event organized in the university which provides a platform for students to showcase their talent in various domains. Sangathan is another big event. It is an annual sports event where students from all departments participate in several games. Sangathan takes place in the month of September, which also marks the birthday of Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, our esteemed founder and the president of Amity Education Group.
The unique three-tier mentor-mentee concept at Amity is religiously followed, which includes students' counseling by faculty, alumni, and industry experts. They constantly interact with the students to counsel them on their academic and personal concerns. The university's library is a resource center with several books, journals, and research materials. Various seminars, conferences, and workshops are also organized in the university, which makes learning interesting. Even during the testing time of the COVID-19 pandemic, Amity ensured that teaching is continued through online classes, webinars, etc. These initiatives have indeed helped the university to carve its firm and reputed position in the education world. No doubt, Amity is one of the top ranked private universities globally.
Zooming in to Amity School of Languages. ASL, a commitment. Today is the day to open up your future, to expand your horizons and gain new skills, to move your career to the next level or start a new one. We are here to help you with all.
Courses offered at Amity School of Languages: Bachelor of Arts, Honours in English Language and Literature, that is BA English Honours, Masters in English Language and Literature, MA English, PhD in English.
Value-added courses at Amity School of Languages. We offer business communication. Along with this, we offer 3 foreign languages, first German, second French, third Spanish, and value-added course communication skills is offered to various students from different departments across Amity University Lucknow campus.
Program overview. The English program has been developed in a way that brings creative and unconventional approaches to subject with an emphasis on the highest academic standards of teaching and research.
Why English literature and language? Students study a range of literary and other works written in different styles and from different periods.
Phrases used in usual conversations are the things we say today, which we owe to Shakespeare, such as knock knock, who's there? Green eyed monster. What's done? is done, for goodness sake, and so.
Study of English literature is concerned with social behavior and structure, problems of aesthetic and cultural value, a wide range of examples of writing, awareness of the moral and social questions surrounding the techniques through which analysis and persuasion are achieved. Study of fiction offers a first-hand experience to live with mankind and helps to draw inspiration from the characters to deal with real-life situations.
Major areas of study: history of English literature, poetry, drama, literary theory and criticism, post-colonial literature, world or global literature, communication skills, foreign business language, behavioral sciences, elective courses elite, open domain courses such as history, sociology, and psychology.
Here are some career options to explore: civil services, teaching, research, media and business, marketing, freelance writer, law, advertising, banking, and the list goes on.
Now, let's visit the clubs at ASL. Mimesis, the Dramatics Club. For Social Awareness Club, we have Sahyog.
Born with the society, straight from the heart, we have Spandan, the Cultural Club, and Khayale Adab, the Literary Club.
To develop social skills, we have Abhivyakti, Foreign Business Languages Club, and ASL Coffee House Club. Let's have a deeper view into the clubs, starting with Mimesis, the Dramatics Club. Mimesis, the act of representing or imitating reality in art. Objectives: audience appealing theatrical presentation, wider perspective to every fold of life, helps in developing professional etiquette, enhancing communication, willingness to work cooperatively. The club leads its members to an individual transformation, makes one vocal about their thoughts, multitasking, work under pressure, promise of next slide, enhances the ability to accept and understand different opinions and perspectives, creative problem solving, and healthy image. Next slide. Now, let's go down the memory lane of mimesis with our picture gallery. These are the few moments captured where our students performed and showcased their skills through plays and nukkad nataks.
Can we separate the dancer from the dance? In other words, both the artist and the art make the audience go through a whole gamut of emotions. Dance to me is the movement of the body in a rhythmic way for the purpose of expressing an idea or emotion, releasing energy, or simply taking delight in the movement itself. For this, our department has the club Spandan, which means pulsation, the beating of the heart. We seldom realize, for example, that our most private thoughts and emotions are not actually our own. For we think in terms of languages and images which we did not invent, but which were given to us by our society.
Moving on to next club, Sahyog, Social Awareness Club. Volunteering or community service provides you with the perfect opportunity to become closer to the community you live in. Community service broadens your horizons by helping you understand the needs of the society and the population you are trying to help through the project you are volunteering on. Next slide. Community outreach is about giving, contributing, and helping those who cannot help themselves. Community outreach also allows us to influence younger generations to give back to the community. It helps the community grow in a substantial way. The three main goals of an outreach program are to improve learning, promoting civic engagement, and strengthening communities through addressing their societal needs. An outreach program creates a partnership between the communities and the educational institutions. Next slide. These are the few moments captured where the members of the club celebrated mankind.
Khayal-e-Adab, the Poetry Club. We read and write poetry because we are members of human race, and the human race is filled with passion. The idea for Khayal-e-Adab. A particular theme is chosen for each week. Poems are read and discussed on that theme. Personal analysis or khayal, meaning thought about the theme or phrase, is interpreted. This brings different perspectives into the room, and each perspective can bring about some form of vulnerability in each individual. This will help in connecting the small community at a deeper level and understanding the psychology of individuals.
Abhivyakti, Foreign Business Languages Club. The purpose of the FBL Club is to foster an interest in and an understanding of world languages and their respective cultural traditions. The club sponsors, promotes, conducts, and participates in educational activities. There is a focus on German, French, and Spanish, but the club is open to any language and culture. Next slide. These are the few moments captured where our students showed and explored their social skills.
ASL Coffee House, the Soft Skills Club. Starting off with Francis Bacon. Reading makes a full man, conference a ready man, and writing an exact man. The reasons behind this club are to help students achieve great oratorship skills, to overcome stage fear and gain confidence while speaking. Even in general lectures, students hesitate while answering, though they have immense knowledge, but they are not able to convert their thoughts into words. As an English honor student, one should be confident while speaking and handling any impromptu task or situation when the need arises to address the audience. For this, we have the non-violent communication workshop, reading and writing excerpts and essays, speech delivery, debate, elocution and extempore, group discussions and storytelling, soft skills development workshop to help students overcome their fears. And with this, the journey of the clubs continue. To end our presentation, we would like to recite few lines of Harivansh Rai Bachchan from his poem Madhushala. मदिरालय जाने को घर से चलता है पीने वाला, किस पद से जाऊं असमंजस में है भोला भाला, अलग अलग पद बतलाते सब पर या मैं बतलाता हूं, राह पकड़ तू एक चलाचल पा जाएगा मधुशाला. In English, seeking wine, the drinker leaves home for the tavern. Perplexed, he asks, which path will take me there? People show him different ways, but this is what I have to say. Pick a path and keep walking, and you'll reach the tavern.
Now, here he talks about a drinker who is so drunk that doesn't know which path to follow. He starts his journey by leaving his home perplexed and confused with different thoughts. He asks many people around as to which path to follow, and everyone guides him differently. Some tell him to go right and some left. But the poet says that my advice to the person is that he should choose one way and keep walking, and there will be a time when he will finally reach his destination, that is the tavern. Here, the poet is trying to say that a person shouldn't rely on others, but should do what his heart says. He should choose one way, and by walking on it, he will eventually reach his destination. And with this, we come to the end of our presentation.
Shraddha,
you.
request you to get the the camera, everybody to come on face, and then you can click the photograph. I have to leave for that other function at Noida.
Okay, ma'am, sure.
Quick.
Priyanshi?
Yes, ma'am, on it.
Yes.
Ilma, could you please unshare the screen?
Yes. Thank you so much.
I request everyone to please turn on their camera so that the technical team can take the screenshots of the event. I hope
mine is disabled.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Ms. Ilma Khan and Ms. Anushka Biswas for such a pleasing presentation. I would now request our lovable Dr. Manjri Johari, Assistant Professor at Amity School of Languages, who has been the part of ASL faculty since 2008. She has presented n numbers of valuable papers in various national and international conferences, which have been published in reputed journals and books. Her guidance has always motivated the students to bring forth the best of themselves, who has made literature more fascinating and important for our students. I humbly request you, ma'am, to please take on the lead to give a short summary of the 9th International Conference. Over to you, ma'am.
So much for that lovely introduction. Only minor correction which I would like to make though is that I've been here since 2007.
Sure.
Right. So, right. So a very good afternoon to all of you, and I warmly welcome you all to the valedictory function of this international conference that we've been hosting since yesterday. This is our 9th international conference, and like you just heard, our very esteemed, respected director of Amity School of Languages, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, she threw light on the passion with which the team has worked to organize this conference. And for the benefit of those who've joined today and who could not, for some reason, join the event yesterday, I'll give a very brief recap of the highlights and of the esteemed speakers who had joined the conference yesterday. Before I do that, there's since ma'am has mentioned today in her talk about the very first conference which was conducted in 2013, which we had called Literature, Language and Communication, an Essential Trident. So that was the first time when we had started, attempting to fly and in this arena and in the limitless sky of knowledge which is out there for discussion and discourse. And we've continued with a lot of zeal every single year, and the outcome of which is this 9th conference that we have been able to host yesterday and today. In order to give you this brief recap, I'll share my screen and continue with my talk. Just give me a moment, please. Is my screen visible, Priyanshi?
Yes, ma'am, perfectly visible.
Right, so this is the 9th conference, as I said, which we decided to call Narratives of Troubled Times, Reflection and Studies of Humanities. This topic was suggested to us by Professor Ray, and she was very sure that this would resonate very well with the participants, and indeed she was right. And we've had participants from different parts of the world who've shared their experiences of these troubled times, either through their research or in the context of some literary text or the other. Amity School of Languages organized this conference in collaboration with the following: Muğla Sıtkı University, Turkey, the School of Languages, Berlin, Germany, Alliance Française, Lucknow, Perfect Language Institute and Consultancy, Surat, Gujarat, and Yes, Germany, Faridabad, Delhi. So it was this wide network which helped us to organize this event so successfully. I'm thankful to all the collaborators for putting in faith in us and in aligning with our vision of being able to conduct this workshop, this conference. I'll attempt to give glimpses, as I promised, of the first day of the conference, which was 19th January 2020. Now, to begin with, I would like to share with the eminent guests and the participants the committee of this conference, which was led by our patron. The patron of the conference is our very honorable Chancellor, Amity University, Dr. Aseem K. Chauhan, the Vice Chancellor, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, the very respected Dr. Balwinder Shukla. The advisors of this conference were Professor Sunil Dhaneshwar, who is our Vice Chancellor, Pro-Vice Chancellor, and the Head Department of Foreign Languages Education, University of Turkey, Professor Dalal, and of course the convener of the conference, our very own Honorable Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray. All of this would not have been possible without the untiring efforts of the coordinator of this event, which is Mrs. Shraddha Srivastav and her team of very dedicated students. We started the inaugural function yesterday with a welcome address, which was delivered by Dr. Ray. And yesterday also she talked about and emphasized upon the idea of Vasudev Kutumbakam. And she was so right in her vision, which got translated through this conference, that yes, we are indeed a family of this one world. And it has become possible to connect the luminaries in this world of academia from different parts of the world because of this thought, which was further enabled because of the online mode in which the conference was conducted. Her talk was followed by the address by Pro-Vice Chancellor, the Honorable Professor Dr. Sunil Dhaneshwar. Like always, he encouraged us and motivated us throughout in our journey, and he congratulated the Amity School of Languages for being able to overcome the challenge of the pandemic and be able to organize the conference at the scale at which we did. He very rightly spoke about how important it is to make our choices right. We could have been buffeted by the grim situation, the troubled times that the pandemic had posed, but we chose to do otherwise, and we tried to create something meaningful and positive out of this. This is exactly what Sir too had said yesterday. Amity University, he highlighted, has been able to conduct, despite the pandemic and the challenges posed by this situation of the troubled times, more than 300 conferences and webinars. And we have therefore tried our best to transform this adversity of the pandemic into an opportunity. It has made it possible because of the online facility and the mode that has been enabled and given to us by the university, that participation from across the world was possible in this mode. We are very thankful to Professor Dhaneshwar for his very kind words. I wish he had been able to join today. Nonetheless, we are thankful to Sir for all his guidance and his presence. I'll now share with you some of the academic luminaries who had joined the inaugural function yesterday, and also the paper reading session, which was conducted later on in the evening. The very first speaker yesterday was Professor Dalal. She's the head Muğla Sıtkı Koçman University, Turkey, with whom we had collaborated. She delivered her talk in German, which was translated by Dr. Seval Kakkar. She spoke of the importance of love of human beings so that we can create a just society. And this, she rightly highlighted, is one of the missions of education. She emphasized the importance of research, that it is imperative that research should become a part of the culture of the university, and that conferences such as this one would help to foster the same culture. She spoke about how literature and the writers of literature have their own philosophical approaches, which is based on evaluation of social, cultural, and historical forces, which enables us to get insights into different aspects and functioning of the world. This was followed by Professor Manoj Dikshit, who was our inaugural guest. He is the head Department of Public Administration, University of Lucknow. He said a couple of very interesting things. I have tried to enumerate some of them here for you all. He said that today's fiction is tomorrow's science, and he gave an example of this film Contagion, which had come a couple of years ago, much before we had even ever imagined a thing like corona overwhelming the world the way it is doing now. So this is what he said, that the film came so many years ago and it has now become true. So he said that today's fiction is tomorrow's science. He also mentioned how narratives are built on real experiences. Considering the way India has tried to tackle with this situation, he also emphasized on how important it is now that we are, forced to question science and technology, because beyond a point, these failed to give us adequate answers, and we were compelled to go back to our to our Indian ways of the Ayurveda and to rely on old narratives. He hoped that the conference will encourage people to discuss stories of pain, trouble, and social relations would improve. And the final thing which he said, which I would like to share with you, is that there cannot be a global answer to the problem, that each nation will have to find their own solutions based on experiences and case studies. And this is what was intended through this conference. We were trying to find answers which would come from our own individual experiences, to share them with one another so that we could derive at something meaningful and beneficial for everybody. Dr. Seval Kakkar spoke next, and she introduced the viewers and the participants of this conference to the Muğla Sıtkı Koçman University, Turkey. She shared details about English Language Education Department, German Language Education Department, and the Department of Foreign Language Education. And I hope that our students who are watching this, and other participants too, were listening to her carefully. Who knows, sometimes from now, you may be wanting to apply there and maybe participate in our next event as a student from this university. So all the best. The students should be on the lookout for opportunities which the department offers to you or exposes you to through such events. The keynote for the inaugural function was Professor Palammal, Muğla Sıtkı Koçman University, Turkey. And she spoke on the subject, Survival and Triumph of Humanity in Troubled Times. And she highlighted this with reference to John Steinbeck's novel, The Grapes of Wrath. She read her research paper on this topic. Next speaker yesterday was Professor Stephan Zamet from PFH University, Germany. I tried to take these screenshots while the speakers were speaking, taking down notes of what they were saying. And I found his talk very intriguing, engaging, and interesting. He first introduced his university, the PFH, which he says is a hybrid university. It is like Amity University. It is a private university founded in 1995. And they are doing research. The research about which he spoke yesterday was very relevant in today's times, which is, of course, about the COVID and the reaction of the students and to the situation. And he came up with certain very important deductions. And some of them I'll attempt to share with you. He says that, he said yesterday that this COVID brought about the importance of solidarity amongst the people. Although there were many people from the older age group, 60 plus, who were succumbing to the disease, but it did not lead to any kind of a conflict between the young and the old. It did not create a generation conflict. In fact, it was more about reaching out to one another as a man, in a very humane gesture. So he talked about the importance of solidarity, that one of the things which surfaced out of this, despite the generational, the manner in which COVID was affecting, was not the generation conflict, rather how people were reaching out to one another. One conflict which he studied, which he shared, was the conflict of ideology, which was regarding the mandatory vaccination. So this has happened in Germany. He's made a study of that with reference to his own university, how there are people who are pro-vaccination and whereas some are resisting it. When I was listening to his talk, I realized that geographical boundaries really do not make much of a difference when it comes to the teacher and the taught relationship and how students are reacting to today's times. And I realized that it is not our own students who have now become accustomed to this mode of teaching, that it is the same there. And he mentioned an example when students did not want, many students were not very keen to attend offline classes because they were getting used to doing it from the comforts of their home, not having to travel, not having to wake up early and get ready, which resonated with the response from some of our own students. So he talked about how COVID-induced digitalized education will impact education in the long run. He asked these very important questions, that will hybrid education be here? Will it stay for long? How long lasting will the COVID-driven digitalization boost be in higher education? How has it affected students' expectations, and how will universities react to these expectations? So I found that these are questions which are very common to our own concerns here in India and at Amity University. So like I said, geographical boundaries do not matter, and students, their concerns, their approach, their expectations are very similar all across the world. This was followed by this talk given by Ms. Marlin from the French Institute in India. She spoke about the importance of learning languages, the foreign languages. She spoke about intercultural approach to language learning. She emphasized how learning a language expands your horizon and it creates possibilities of new linkages. So this conference could have been possible only because of the linkage that was established by Mrs. Shraddha Srivastav, who's a German faculty, and her link with the professors of German in the university in Turkey. So that is how it expands horizons. Learning a new language gives better understanding to other people's cultures. It opens your eyes to the world. This was a talk which was delivered by Ms. Layden yesterday. She spoke about the importance of learning a foreign language, how it develops your creativity, enables your communication, helps you to understand people, understand yourself, and to develop intercultural skills. This was also the last speaker in the inaugural session yesterday. In the second half, in the post-lunch evening, we had the paper reading session. And another session was conducted today in the morning hours from 11:30 a.m. onwards. And we were very honored and privileged to have renowned professors who came as the chairs for these paper reading sessions. I've listed their names here. Professor Meeta Narayan, Center of Russian Studies, School of Language, Literature and Cultural Studies. Dr. Kiran Singh Verma, again Assistant Professor, Center of Russian Studies, School of Language, Literature and Cultural Studies. Then We had Dr. Arunim Bandhopadhyay and Dr. Sonu Saini from JNU in the morning today, who were the chairs for the paper reading session. These are the images which I have put here of the paper reading session. You can find the students as well as the participants very enthusiastically participating in this scholarly activity which was conducted in the second half yesterday. These are some of the papers that were presented. Dr. Ekta Shone, Dr. Sunita Upadhyay, Anisha James, Apurva Sinha. Some of them are research scholars, whereas some are faculty members in different universities. These are the names, and I feel extremely proud to share with you the list of our student coordinators. This conference has been possible only with the very enthusiastic participation of this entire team of our students. I've listed their names here. I may have missed out some names, so my congratulations to the entire team of students who've made this event a great success. Thank you very much. That is all from my side. And like Priyanshi asked me to give you a short summary, I've attempted to do the same. Thank you very much. Thank you. Yes, Priyanshi, over to you, beta. I'm done.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am, for your beautiful insights. Moving forward, today we have an eminent speaker guest, Mr. Chandan Singh Sengar, President of Life Science Chemicals, who has over 3 decades of experience and has the P&L responsibility of the largest business of Jubilant Ingrevia, with the turnover of USD 400 million, spread over the 3 large manufacturing sites in India. His leads key projects investments to achieve global leadership for the key chemical intermediate. I heartily request you, sir, to take on the toll and hold a constructive interaction with the audience.
Thank you, Kajal. Thank you very much. I have been listening to all the speakers, and I must say that I'm really impressed with Dr. K.K. Ray and Manjari Joshi and some of the students. Very impressive. I must tell you that over so many years that I have been from Jubilant, we have hired a lot of students from Amity, and they've all done very well. They have all grown very well, and it's thanks to the culture that Amity University inculcates into them, and we will continue to be patronizing Amity for years to come forward. Moving on to the subject, I think it's very impressive to see how all of the young students have managed to compete despite the pandemic, and how everybody has reacted to the pandemic. I am happy to share some of the insights of how it worked in a corporate world, because corporate point of view, for a manufacturing company like ours, you will be, you'll definitely get to learn something, because we were totally unprepared. Not only us, everybody, all of you as well. So it knocked us and it locked us. And we were standing at the rim. We had to keep our people safe and also to ensure the business continuity. In manufacturing companies, and most of the companies actually, the most precious asset are the people, because they are the people who make it run. And so it's the people who were in the front line, for example, the supply chain, who and the manufacturing, because they could not be working from home. They had to be on the streets, running around, arranging feedstock, raw materials, transportation, and reaching it to the manufacturing end. And manufacturing people had to be in the plants. They could not be working from home. So we had to meet all the customer requirements, and despite the challenges of COVID, it was nightmarish and something we were totally unprepared for. And just like other companies, we had to also manage the blood life of any business, and that is the cash flow constraints. So cash flow had to keep moving. So the salespeople had to be in touch with customers and getting our payments on time. So there were multiple operational challenges which we were just not prepared. The IT infrastructure was not ready. There was lack of reliable IT equipments. The internet connections were saturated, and meeting teams virtually added one more item to the list of challenges. So that was from the corporate side, but working from home, there were so many challenges that people had to eventually mix the private and family situations. So working couple will not have sufficient space for work together. The children at home who needed their own space for studying or playing, parents having to take care of the underaged kids at the same time as working, and elderly at home needed extra care and precautions because of the COVID. So our people were trying to constantly function and perform while struggling to cope up with what is happening in their lives. There were situations where I'm in a meeting and there's a doorbell ringing. Nobody knows who will go and get up because everybody is in a call. And some of my colleagues referring to some time off so that they could cook because there are no maids and cooks, nobody coming up. The societies would not allow maids and cooks to come in. So despite this, without any compromising on the deadlines, we had to function. And women and children, I feel, faced the most tough time because whether it was homemakers or working women, it was challenging for both of them. With everything going virtual, there was a lack of human touch, connect, in-person interactions. We got more digital. Every waking hour got converted into a working hour. We found no one who around me would not say that, look, I have no me time. And everybody was emotionally, psychologically, and physically drained out. So we gathered ourselves and in no time we deliberated and arrived at short-term stringent plans addressing safety of people. And as a company which places health and safety of our people above all, it was imperative to constantly evaluate the outside circumstances and take appropriate steps to prevent spread of COVID so that all our employees and their families are safe and our facilities and offices are safe and hygienic to operate. So in a true spirit of our group promise and philosophy of caring, sharing and growing, we engaged in employee counseling at well-being sessions, vaccination camps we organized at all our sites, isolation centers and on-premise stay facilities of the employees and their family members. We came up with the formation of emergency response teams with the objective that in case any medical emergency or support required because if you remember, there were just no beds in the hospitals. So we created isolation centers. We arranged medicines. We arranged testing, vaccination, oxygen cylinders so that our employees could at least immediate response they would have got, emergency response. These teams were formed at all locations and all members of the ERTs met on weekly basis to monitor the evaluation. And this is how we fought the pandemic, but we tremendously and learned so many things that major learning is that you have to become an intelligent enterprise. You have to shift from top-down decision-making to empowering teams guided by purpose, driven by data, powered with technology, and enabled by cloud for faster speed to market. The world has changed. It's changed for good. I heard someone asking whether these hybrid meetings are going to continue or, are we going to continue with this? virtual events. I'm sure we will, because it has become now almost a way of our lives. So we have to move from the rigid structures of dynamic self-management and continual adaptation. Build, you have to build for agility, resilience, and growth. It's required. It required great amount of effort and learning while ensuring existing business deliveries. But above all, what we learned, which is common, I'm sure, in Amity and all other institutes, is that the teamwork was not teamwork does not mean coming together in person. It is rather coming together with an intent. Where how you get together is not relevant. So meeting everybody in physical and making a team is not the way anymore. You have to get together anyhow. We were away from each other, but we connected to each other as humans. We stood by each other, held each other up, and kept saying, we shall overcome one day. And it does happen. So eventually it opened, and now we are facing the third wave. And suddenly people are so much at comfort. They realize that there is more knowledge now available. We are vaccinated. Therefore, it's important to be together. It's important to value our relationships, whether we are meeting in person or not. But it's very, very important to be together. With these words, I thank you very much and thank Amity for inviting me here. It was a pleasure, real pleasure to share my time with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for making time out from your busy schedule to honor the occasion. We gained and learned a lot today from you. The next speaker that we have is Dr. Abhishek Kumar, researcher at Kiel University. Sir received his PhD in bioinformatics from the University of Bielefeld in Germany and subsequently worked as a postdoctoral fellow in the Department of Biology at the University of Padova in Italy. At Institute of Botany, he is employing multi-omics approaches for studying cancer and neurological disorders and developing computational pipelines for detailed analysis of genomes. Dr. Abhishek Kumar is here to conduct a lecture on stress and anger management during the crisis. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the invitation, and it's really nice to see what we are learning from industrial side, educational sides during COVID. And in this direction, I will give my talk today. Let me share my slides. So, okay, my slides are here. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully you are seeing the full slide. I'm going to talk about the stress and anger management during the crisis. And we, as a young person, think that COVID is the biggest crisis of our life, but our life is full of crises. Yeah. So if you look carefully, and we have to learn how to manage stress and anger, stress associated symptoms throughout our lives. The early we start learning, and those who are in 20s seeing COVID is a big lesson. What is stress or crisis? Crisis is caused by significant stress, where you lose your emotional and cognitive balance by traumatic changes, and that can lead into a turning point and a state of instability. So many of you have heard that बहुत सारे शायर बन जाते हैं जब उनका दिल टूटता है. So that could be a big शायर comes out of tragedy, but then it is for better of the world, because we all are fans of Ghalibs. And but the big indeed COVID is biggest crisis in 100 years. And we see that there are constant mutation in the virus, and that leads into several strains. Currently, we are at Omicron, and we have already lost a lot of jobs. And this is true. Many companies like the Srivastavaji's company has managed their employees really well, but in several sectors, managing employees were difficult. Okay, so difficult because suppose a restaurant is not running, how long a restaurant owner can retain employees? Yeah, so restaurants close again and again, and so people lose their jobs. And this is the job statistics on the screen during the second wave in India. So and now if you look at yesterday night when I was checking, so many people lost their lives. And losing life, suppose if I lost some of my uncles, is just a crisis of lifetime. Yeah, so that person will not come back. But what crisis teaches us that we have to be prepared for losses, and we have to be ready for. We should respect life. We should respect our uncles, respect their lives, because kal ho na ho. Yeah. So that's a main sentiment. And then obviously there are a lot of technological advancement, lot of way of thinking must change. And but if you really look, stress is part of our life. We have seen dinosaurs. We have seen failures in exams. So who do not fail? And if you do not fail, try to fail it, because that will give you a lesson. Yeah. So deliberately fail one time in your life and see how same person who passes always, and once he fails, how people react to it. Yeah. So failing is not in our society, at least, not given credit. And as in my 20s, I used to think that failing is dramatically stressful, and what my parents will think about it. But failure is a road to success. Yeah. So basically, if you fail in a shorter examination, you will have start building a stress, and many people lose job. Many people have different scenarios where they feel stress, and COVID had just intensified that. And then the companies who manage the stress, the leaders of the company like Dr. Srivastava and many others who have managed their employees really well. And if you follow, there are disastrous leaders also, like one who fired 900 employees during a Zoom meeting recently, if you heard in news. So, but then what happens is that how we will manage the stress, because that leader also has to manage the stress for himself, stress for his company, and how one can win out of the crisis. And that is what one has to learn. But before we go into say a solving crisis, we have to understand what crisis can cause. Yeah. So in a normal day, one is happy, calm, continuously engaging. Then crisis comes in, you start aggregation, fear. Like COVID came in, people got feared. What will happen to our jobs? What will happen to our milk? What will happen to and we are still under stress, right? And that causes dissociation, that can cause you anger, make some people devil, make some people dare, some people unhappy, and so on. So the kind of a dissociation from a normal habit. And this is what we are continuously going through. So some people who are not taking vaccine, or some people are unhappy about the way governments are functioning. These are all a cause of dissociation. And it also opens up a social or bureaucratic and governmental level a situation that even America, which has 25 plus trillion of economy, has fragile health infrastructure. Yeah. So not that India only has. So everybody is on the same foot. And some may be able to spend more money, and some may be able to, and one needs to think about it at this stage. So what crisis will do is will make us our decisions will be confusing, our concentration will be reduced, we will miss the opportunities, we become controlling our own emotion, stress level will go, we'll feel irritated, impatient, and our sleep level will be disturbed. And many of you have probably faced, I faced. So when COVID came in, that I started working at night, sleeping in the day. What should I do if I'm not allowed to go out? And so if you do not go out for 20 days without any of your choice, it doesn't matter. But if you are forced to stay at home, you feel like in jail, right? So you you display emotion, you feel irritated, may not be feeling anger, but if you go to further extent, you feel anger, you start behaving differently. And so these are triggers, and triggers could be yelling, bedtime change, checking in the room. When people are coming close to a person, that person also feels annoyed, and presence of large men in the nearby area. And the crisis, one example of the crisis is seen in African countries, where the people live together very close, and in their society, many underage women or girl, I can say, that they got pregnant during this period because they lived within very limited space with elderly men or unwanted men, and they got pregnant. So if you read it, this is also a shocking news for the world, that a massive amount in Africa, there are massive amount of, so this also triggers a problem. But when there is a problem, you identify that you're facing a crisis, you cannot solve it by being alone. And when you are not able to tell it to somebody, or you are told to stay alone, even if you are facing a crisis, it's always good to discuss with your peers. And if I'm in crisis, if I shout, it do not make any difference. Yeah. So I also, as a person who's facing crisis, has to also understand that. And also peer teasing. Peer teasing is something like, if I am facing a crisis and others are laughing about it, or others are not able to understand. So as a society as a whole, we have to listen to each other and during the crisis. And what one should do, actually, one has to step back, pause, focus, reassess the situation, and practice for a self-care, like doing exercise, yoga, indoor activity, and communicate with people, eat healthy, try to have a good quality of sleep hygiene, and also find a support team. You can create your support team, and during all the crisis, you have support teams, right? Suppose I lose a job, then I should have a support team where I can go and seek for what should I change, or maybe I need a financial assistance at point of time. So I need to make 5 such friends where we share those support teams, and then once you have a support team, you go ahead, share, and if somebody from my team is facing crisis, I should share the responsibility to help the person. And once we come out of it, we celebrate it, be it small, be it big. So how one is dealing with crisis management is to, when you realize you are facing a crisis, you need to overcome the difficulties, reduce the information, and look for the possible solution. Yeah, and so that you would manage, resolve, and recover out of it. It is for person who's facing, and it is also for their support group. Yeah, so we bring our friends, near family members out of the crisis. Yeah, so therefore it is important that both party understand, and one of the major things is that crisis management is that being honest, truthful, empathetic, proactive, and established in rapport that, okay, suppose we have friend of 5 and we have managed crisis 5 times, we build up a rapport, and there that we can go back and discuss whenever there is a crisis, we turn to this person. So many times you will realize somebody in your nearby, many people come back whenever there is a crisis like situation, they come to that person, or try to see a doctor in the society where everybody will say he is a good heart specialist because he has built up a rapport in managing heart disease as a crisis. And crisis management has several components, and you need a crisis center. I will give you an example in the later slide. And then in intervention and services required for that. And I will give an example also on crisis team. So one has to gather information. Say COVID is spreading, you need to collect the information, but come out of the rumor. Yeah. So in the America currently, the COVID is very high, and the reason is that the American COVID management team started giving that do not use mask sometime. They are then telling use mask this time. So people got confused. Yeah. So and therefore they had, so one need to be carefully think that if the mask was actually helping, why this information is coming again and again that not to wear, not to wear. Wearing will be always protective. So clear and timely communication is also required. At that same time, coordination group monitoring is required, and so on. So let me show you. Once you have managed the crisis, you need to look from start to end. So if COVID ends, we have to think why it happened, and start to finish how keep note of it, document it, and when next time a problems comes in, we will review it. So indeed, we as a society have come out of the COVID really well, because past viral infection century years ago or microbial infection had taught us how to quickly develop vaccine. Yeah. So, and that's what so document every crisis you go. It could be a financial crisis, it could be COVID, or it could be any crisis. You document it at the end of it, and so that you can improve on it. So documentation can be digital, and when you are doing what you need to do in the crisis time, you have to oversimplified or misinformation, and overcome resistance to change, and then manage the information, and proper communication is required. So one can build a small group for crisis management. It could be in person, it could be on a call, and it could be a remote assistance with and without camera. Why? Because sometimes you're not comfortable discussing on camera, so one can discuss without camera also. So and what one needs to do is that one needs to keep document of emergency contacts, keep list of emergency sources. So whenever you go somewhere on a public place, or you need to keep emergency number list. Today you can also keep it in mobile. So the number of emergency numbers are listed here: police, fire brigades, and so on. And during crisis management, you always have to know who will be the leader who will be dealing it, who will be the a leader means suppose COVID came in, so who will decide how to shop, and then maybe one person in a family decides, and who will be the driver, who will be the medicine deliverer, who will be the food deliverer, and so on. And what will the first to end a step, and then who will be supervising this process. So this is required, and once you come out of crisis, either you will succeed or you fail, right? So fail, don't think that you will fail, be strong. And once you survive, what you will have, that you have conquered a mountain, and we will conquer the COVID. And one will become physically strong, emotionally strong, in the sense that we will have a positive outlook and self-regulation. and we spiritually we will value things and become tolerant, yeah, and mentally more focused and more strong mentally. At the end of my talk, I would say that love everyone, because you see that number of people who died will not come back. So I lost 6 of my uncles and they will not come back. So basically, I wish that I would have time to meet them once before they pass away. And so love all. So whenever you have time, meet people. And when COVID will end, we all, or we still, many people still started realizing it taught us very hard. Protect all. So as a society, we need to ask ourselves, how can we build better healthcare? Because in Gangantic side, when we saw dead bodies, we started telling, no, this is political, this is truth actually. So many people died out of no healthcare. Yeah. So how can we build better society where people are not dying like that? So one need to build a protect all, and therefore my last message is love everyone. So irrespective of the person, and imagine the day COVID hit, we all were inside and dogs were out, and we were not able to bring them biscuits. So let's protect our society as overall and come out of any crisis. Take lesson hard from here and be proactively deal with crisis. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. This was indeed a very grasping session. Next up, we have another professional guest speaker, Dr. Gagan Sayar, founder and CEO at Yes Germany, has worked for 10 years at Mercedes-Benz Germany. He did his MS and PhD from KIT from Germany. He gives lectures at German universities like KIT, Karlsruhe, RUB Bochum, etc., and Indian universities like DTU Delhi, NIT Jaipur, etc. The topic for Dr. Gagan Sayal's session is German language studies during Corona. Sir, I humbly request that you come up and engage in a meaningful dialogue with the audience.
Thank you very much. Am I audible and is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're audible and the screen is visible too.
So thanks a lot for inviting me. Thanks, Amity School of Languages. Before I start, I would like to congrats to all the team members, to the management for organizing such a wonderful conference. The best part, what I loved is the presentation, the talks were about 10 to 15 minutes, different topics, very important topics, and all were international. So we were hearing from different, and the energy, the Professor Abhishek Kumar shared, what I could love all. These are the things which we have to follow, and thanks to you all for bringing everyone on this platform. I know it is not easy, and I know it is hell out of work from last 2-3 months or maybe more for organizing such a wonderful event. We are Yes Germany. I'm a founder of this company, Yes Germany. Yes is Youth Educational Society, where we build a network of in India and Germany and helping students if they want to study abroad or want to learn German language, they can do. One more point about the previous speaker, Dr. Abhishek Kumar from Germany. I met him about 13, 14 years back, and you might be surprised to know he's a polio person. He's always on wheelchair. A really difficult, living alone, and super professional person, and the happiest person I have seen in my whole life. He has seen the crisis from his childhood, and imagine he has a paper in Nature. He has more than 100, in 100 journals he has publications, and reaching to that level with so many physical challenges. Respect to him, respect. He gives the energy, and he's one of the person from where we can learn a lot. So let's start. Let's see, my presentation working. Yes. So my topic is about German language studies during Corona. I'm Dr. Engineer Gagan Syal, did my PhD from Germany, worked in Mercedes-Benz, as was mentioned in my short introduction. I'm a fan of internationalization. I'm a fan of people thinking of how, from where we can get more knowledge, not restricting to one city or one place or one culture. Bring the energy, learn the energy from everywhere, and then implement it in the best way. This is what is India, and this is what we have to do. And at present, in the Corona time, I see the biggest challenge, because I'm working with lots of more than 1,000 students. I'm working at present, and I counsel more than 20,000 students per year. So you can imagine. So I am very much in touch with students. I met also students from IIM. Yesterday also there was on a LinkedIn that IIM students are begging for jobs. So such things are happening. Why? That is important for us. So there are many students here. There are all our educationists here. We have to understand what is the problem. One side is Corona is the problem, or there are other problems also. There are things which we can't solve. Like Corona, I can't solve. This is beyond my limit. I can wear mask, but I cannot say that in 10 days, if I do something, I can solve it. No. But what I can do in the situation, that is the most important thing. The biggest challenge, what I have figured it out, the question mark, or the student thinking, what will happen in future? How their career will be? Will they get job? Where they will get job? Is whatever they're studying is benefited in future or not? These are the things that students are continuously thinking, and that makes a really big stress life. Now, the only solution I can tell you is add your skills. Add your skills. I can tell you one skill which changed my whole life. That changed my whole life, I can share with you. I'm an engineer. I'm a mechanical engineer. I did my bachelor from India, but I was very passionate towards going to Germany. So what I did is, parallel to my mechanical engineering, parallel to my theoretical knowledge, parallel to my professional practical knowledge from mechanical, I said, okay, let me do or learn something which is unique. So in 2000, I'm not telling now, 22 years back, I started learning German. Or simple, that time it was the most difficult thing, I can tell you, to learn a foreign language. I'm from a small town, and there was no option of learning. There was no option of online. I had to drive 100 kilometers on weekend to attend 1 hour of German language lecture. I did it for 4 years. And that helped me to get free education in Germany. That helped me to get job in Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz, the car maker, and I was in Germany for 12 years, did everything, was easy. So I'm not telling you the mechanical or the things which we are doing, like if you are doing BBA, MBA, or if you are from a BCom, or if you are or mechanical or engineering background or bio, add one additional skill, which can be a unique. And the best part, you have in your own school, Amity language school, they have really talented teachers, but you have to continuously learn. Don't go for 1 month of lecture or 2 months of lecture. Make it your real skill. I will tell you what I got the advantage is Germany having so many big companies, even the Dr. Oetker sauces, what you are using, Maggi, Puma, Adidas, BMW, Audi, Mercedes, Allianz, Porsche, Volkswagen. There are n number of companies available, and they are available in India too. So the one skill, this will really enhance us from this normal level to a unique level. This skill helped me a lot, and I can assure you this will help you also. Apart from this, I have seen there are other advantages also. Learning. Why should anyone learn German? I'm sharing my experience. You can learn French, Spanish, or any international language which can help you. But these are the things which I lived, where I got the benefited. So I learned German. I was able to get offers from German companies in India with the higher packages. Like at that time in 2004, my friends were getting 3 to 4 lakh, and just because of one additional language, and I had only 65, 75% in my education. I'm not like a 90% top rank, but that one unique skill helped me to bag the offer of that time 6 lakh rupees. No, and I said, no, I wanted to go to Germany, so I continued my work. For fresh graduate, it's a magic band to get a job in India. It worked for thousands of students, I can tell you. And if you are already in IT segment or mechanical, and the company is working in a service industry and they have an on-site opportunity, if you know this language, you will be selected compared to the other person who are not aware of this language. I have seen more than 5,000 teachers who are doing part-time teaching. They're spending 1-2 hours per day. They learn German for 3-4 months, and now they become they are earning extra because of German language. On the top, the best part, what I have figured it out, studying in Germany, if you want to do for masters, it is a free education in Germany. High quality. You can get easily a job, and the salary starts from 40 lakh per annum. That's a minimum package what you can do after bachelor. And there are a number of additional benefits. So guys, start learning it. You have to just spend 1 hour, 1.5 hours, and please don't just go for a YouTube or a Facebook or any learning source. Go to a proper institute, Amity, XYZ, whatever you want, or you can join us also. Yes, Germany also give classes. It's up to you. But the best part is start adding these skills in your kitty from now onwards. Not only these, there are a lot of other jobs which you can do. Part-time teaching, full-time teaching. There are a lot of translators required. There are thousands of every month new documents are coming up from different languages, and they need translators for that, and official translators, not just Google translators. So there are media industry jobs, there are tourism industry, embassy. This week, embassy has 4 jobs for students who can speak B2 level, and embassy jobs, you know what it means. So just spend 5-6 months, get that skill, and apply for that. You will be surprised to know that recently, from 16th December 2021, not even a 1 month, in the Economic Times, read it, the left-hand side, 4 lakh jobs are open in Germany. Germany is a small country like Rajasthan, not even in Uttar Pradesh, half of the Uttar Pradesh, and only 8 crore population, 8 crore population. So even I can't compare this with Uttar Pradesh. So this is a small country, and if you have a 4 lakh open jobs which are not filled, they are open for international students and international people. So getting a job is much easier. Only in one company, BMW, 6,000 jobs are open. Only in let me show you some more facts. So just because of one skill, what are the doors which will open? And I have taken on the right hand side some glass door or other resources which you can see. If I search in Berlin, language jobs in Berlin, so there are about, only in one city, there are about 5,000 jobs only in one website. Only in Berlin, one city, if I see, there are 10,000 jobs, language jobs are available. Only in one city. If I go to Stepstone, you can see there are 6,700 jobs are available. I'm just writing German language and Berlin. You can do by yourself also. You will be surprised to know how many jobs are available. And now Stepstone, if you now take it complete Germany, not one city, 45,000 jobs are there. So I'm talking a lot about Germany. Now let's talk about India. If you just go to Naukri.com, which is one of the main job portal, if you just type there German language job, you will get about 4,200 open jobs. It's a huge number. Just one skill, and that skill you can acquire within 3 to 4 months. I'm not telling you to go for 1 year. So there are, of course, if you do it for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year professional language, then you are the king or the queen. But with one skill, you are able to get job wherever you want in this. If I go to the LinkedIn in India, I wrote German language jobs. India, you see more than 1,000. Excuse me. So guys, now what best we can do in this situation? In this time, there are hundreds of online options. Go ahead, start doing it now. And you know, and it is very easy. Let me take you few examples of German language also. So it's not like learning a Chinese or a Japanese or a language which is really difficult. It's a sister language of English. If I compare, I can compare it like Hindi and Gujarati. So if a Gujarati person is speaking tame came cho something, so you can reflect what he or she is talking about. Similarly, German and English are sister languages. So it's very easy to learn. You can see here, if I say banana is the banana, the banana is banana. Orange is orange. You have to pronounce it differently, but written wise, it is exactly same. Mango is mango. Pineapple is ananas. Yes, ananas in Hindi and in German is same, ananas. Coconut is coconut. So you can see there are a lot of words which are similar. I have taken only few, but if you see, there are many more. So guys, go ahead and do it. If you want to contact us, we have 10 offices in India. We have more than 100 team members. And if you want to go abroad in Germany, you can contact us. We will definitely help you. Thank you very much, Amity. Really a good job. I'm happy to be in this platform and to share my experience and with you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for taking the time out from your hectic schedule to pay tribute to the occasion. Today we benefited and gained so much from you. I would now like to invite Mr. Prateek Hira, founder, president, and CEO, Tornos, which is an experiential travel company that prides itself in being a micro-destination management company operating since 1994 and catering in specific geographic areas and offering knowledge-based products. Prateek Hira, sir, has been mentioned as out-of-the-box tour operator by leading travel magazines. In fact, the concept of walking tours was initiated by Mr. Prateek sir way back in 1994, probably when industries in India may not have known about the concept. India's first food walk was started by him in his own city, Lucknow, in 1995, when street food was unimaginably being offered to foreign tourists by him. Mr. Prateek Hira will be conducting a session on humanities and tourism. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Kajal and Priyanshi, if I got the name right, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Greetings of the day to Professor Kumkum Ray, Director of the Amity School of Languages and the convener of this conference, the valedictory guest, Mr. Chandan Singh, Dr. Manjari Johri, and the coordinator of this conference, Dr. Shraddha Srivastava, and of course to all the speakers, listeners, and above all the students of Amity University and all other universities, the students of all other universities who have joined this virtual conference. It is such a privilege to be here today at this 9th International Conference of the Amity University's School of Languages. And I have been hearing most of the deliberations since yesterday. And I must say the presentations have been real learning experience for me, and I have gained a lot by attending this conference since yesterday. So thanks to Amity for having me here. I belong to the tourism industry, and thus consider myself as an interpreter of humanities. So I chose to speak on humanities and tourism, the changing face of tourism. I want to talk about the inseparable and interdependent relationship of the two domains, the humanities, the subjects of humanities, and tourism. So on this forum, I bring an invitation to the students of humanities, to including the language, which plays a very, very important role. And as the speaker before me was telling about German, and similarly so many other foreign languages that make such a huge difference and internationalize and open a lot of horizons. So I think tourism too can be thought about as one of the career options by the students of humanities, by the students who are doing their the courses in their languages from the Amity University. So academic disciplines, if you see, to study in terms of humanities, the study of society, the culture, which has history, heritage, archaeology, religion, anthropology. So everything that humanities covers is very relevant and directly connected to tourism. And tourism, in fact, is largely dependent on it. So give it a thought and see how dependent we as tourism industry are on the disciplines of humanities that the students at the Amity University are doing, including the language, or people were talking about the different, the prose and the poetry. Everything is so relevant for us in the industry. And then also, tourism today is not just limited to leisure movements, but I would say that it has become most powerful tool to assert soft power of nations on the world. And if tourism is soft power, it is because of the disciplines of humanities and the powerful interpretations of it. The world, we all agree, and the speakers before me have spoken about it in great detail, that has shrunk, and it has shrunk much more in the last 2 years of COVID times, that the knowledge has only grown immensely and has much wider reach than it ever had before. So in my opinion, tourism is one domain that puts all the disciplines of humanities together and in a planned and a structured manner to present a destination as a product. I must tell you, especially the students of the Amity University who have joined this conference, that we are living in an era of niche and experiential tourism. And that is, it's here that the tourism as a discipline and as a vocation becomes more inclusive of the disciplines of humanities that you all study, especially the subjects of, and I'm talking about humanities because the subject is such, but it could be any subject, and specialization in that subject is a part of tourism. Today's traveler, today's tourist who's traveling to places is beyond just touch and go. He wants to understand a destination more intrinsically and deep dive into it. His knowledge and his awareness is what motivates him to travel. And when he reaches a destination, he wants to deeply understand the host and the environs around him. It is much more about human society and culture. Thus comes humanities at the core of tourism today. The culture, the lifestyle, history, geography, languages all play a very important and a crucial role in tourism today. The subjects of humanities might look quite disassociated with tourism to a layman, but for us within the tourism industry, it is the most relevant discipline, as the entire tourism industry is reinventing itself and transiting to knowledge-based tourism that demands in-depth and factual knowledge and research interpretations. Undoubtedly, COVID has played havoc, and I was listening to Mr. Chandan Singh, who said that it has knocked us, and I agree that it has knocked us and it has locked us. So who better than I can understand, being from the tourism industry, how badly we have suffered and are still in the face of suffering. But then I'm also seeing this period as a period of evolution, where our industry is graduating to the next level. And here the demand for students of humanities across disciplines in our industry will just multiply manifold. So industry is looking for students with in-depth and focused subject knowledge to design specialized thematic tours and to curate out-of-box experiences for tourists, which is driving tourism in future, which is now the new driver of tourism. So for those who considered humanities as just the subjects of traditional study, have to now rethink and see humanities as a vocation too, where most of the disciplines under the domain will be in high demand by the tourism industry at least. So I'm sure for all other industries too, but I'm talking about my industry, which is travel and tourism. We also need to understand and agree that the only thing that is constant is change, and we in tourism can vouch for this, as tourism is the most dynamic industry that has changed for each one of us ever since we joined. And the change, I must say, is a welcome one. It has swept us through where information got available with just a click of a mouse, and we could know and learn anything and everything on the internet. But at the same time, I was listening to Professor Kumkum Ray, who mentioned about that everything is not dependent on internet. So, but at the same time, so my message to students here would be that the life should not just be Google search, which will not let them stand out or make them valuable enough. So like the the speaker from Yes Germany before me was telling you that you need not just go to internet or Google search for a course in German language or a course in French language or Spanish for that matter, but you need to join a proper structured institution. So which is very important. So as a tourism industry person, I double up as a teacher of tourism in different universities in India and abroad. So I have often come across this very perplexing issue of people thinking that they know everything when they Google search, and they can Google search anything that you ask them. But you need to realize here that this knowledge got from internet would be common. It is common to our customers. It is common to our people around, to everybody. So it would be imperative that we go beyond the knowledge, beyond this knowledge, Google search knowledge especially, and the information that Google search provides. So we have to go above that. We need to get some extra knowledge. We need to trust our teachers, value their interactions with you, and read from books, periodicals, refer to as many researches as we can. So it is a hard fact that tourism, to understand, people say that tourism lack employment opportunities, especially in India, but I differ with them. And tourism actually doesn't lack employment opportunities, but or even the availability of the workforce. But it immensely lacks the employable workforce, and unless this mismatch is dealt with properly, it will be tough for our industry, tourism industry, to grow and prosper. In this context, students of humanities, and that too from such progressive universities such as Amity, fill the gap. Universities play a very an inevitable role, I would say, in helping the industry grow. Without them, it is impossible to even imagine tourism in India. But then universities too have a responsibility to provide human that is actually a resource for the industry. So industry, I would say, is ready to collaborate with educational institutions and help them churn out what they actually require. It has to be a serious and a consistent effort on both our ends, on the industry front and at the university front. And I would urge the students of humanities, the students of Amity School of Languages, and across disciplines to think about tourism too as one of their career choices, especially the ones coming from Amity University, which ensures the holistic. I was watching the presentation made by Kajal and Priyanshri in the initial part of this valedictory session, and talking about the different clubs, different activities that Amity is organizing for its students. So it is ensuring holistic development, and by virtue, students of Amity have all required soft skills, I would say. So with that, I end my address and congratulate Amity School of Languages, Amity University, for organizing this 9th International Conference virtually, bringing in speakers from all around the world. And I was privileged and happy to be a part of this for these 2 days, and which now probably is about to come to close after a short while from now. And I convey my gratitude for giving me an opportunity to speak here. A very special thanks to Professor Kumkum Ray and Shraddha Srivastava. And I wish all the very best to all of you, especially to the students who have put this all together. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir. That was indeed a very engaging session. Now, I request our technical team to please project the magnificent compilation that portrays the journey of the Amity School of Languages as it creates, develops, achieves, and continues to expand.
ड्रामा पूरा जीवन हमनी के ड्रामा है ना। हाँ, हमार घर से लेके एजा तक जौनो होता हमारा संगे कुल एगो ड्रामा है ना।
From context to reality, from fiction to relevance, from reading to reality. Theatre teaches us perception of human characters that exist around us and always will. To decipher human behavior and ways to handle them, to be able to cope with challenges and tragedies of life, yet continue to emerge as team leaders, forgiving to human faults, building holistic persona, and with capability of coping.
हमारी अजीजों तरीन रियाया हाकिम अदालत काज़ी मुल्क का फैसला आपने सुना।
I joined this club in my first year of my college, and till then I can say this for sure that Mimesis has sculpted me into the person that I am today. A person who is more confident, understands various perspectives, and a person who wants to achieve. I played the character of Mantra in a play in a production called Ram Leela, and I performed in various Nukkar Nataks. Both these opportunities gave me and made me realize different folds of me that I thought never existed in me, made me a person who is patient yet very vocal about my thoughts and my opinions. At last, I can say that Mimesis started to become the highlight of my day. Until then, it is.
Mimesis. Do you see that smile on my face? This club gives me a lot of happiness. And I think that's all what matters, right?
Orientation program, we were introduced to Mimesis Club, where I was very curious about the club and wanted to know about it more and wanted to participate in it. So when I came to campus, I was selected for a Nukkad Natak, where I was allowed, I had the freedom to scream.
एक लफ्ज में तेरा किस्सा पार किया जा सकता है मगर
सुल्तान वो मर चुका है. I joined Mimesis in the year
working in the online mode. Despite the fact that we were not present together physically, it's never felt like that. We were always on with some or the other activity, be it dramatic reading of plays or monologues being delivered, sir lecturing us on the techniques of dramatization, and so on.
The clubs which is functional in Amity School of Languages, the club which is close to my heart is Dramatics Club. The reason is that in Dramatics Club, the students learn how to develop team spirit, how to boost up morals of each other, how to increase the number of audience appropriate presentations. Right from the inception of this club in 2012, if I am not wrong, the first play which was aired was Dr. Faustus. And I have seen in the last few years the students of Amity School of Languages under the guidance of our able HUI, Dr. Kumkumne ma'am and Rohit sir, they have given such presentations which have awed the students of Amity, and the best presentations which close to me is the Chakravyuh and Ram Leela, which was played in the clock tower. I want to quote one of the sentences of our Honorable HUI when she, in a meeting when she was talking about the clubs, she told Rohit sir that this Dramatics Club, it is very important because it will increase the critical thinking skills of the students, and by that they will be able to analyze the learning literature taught in the class. I wish the Dramatics Club and team all the best.
गांव की गलियां पूछ रही हैं, कहाँ रहे तुम इतने दिन?
मैं उस माटी का वृक्ष नहीं जिसको नदियों ने सींचा है। मैं उस माटी का वृक्ष नहीं जिसको नदियों ने सींचा है। बंजर माटी में पलकर मैंने मृत्यु से जीवन खींचा है।
इतिहास साक्ष्य है, योद्धा मैं निपुण था, बस एक ही मजबूरी थी, मैं वचनों का शौकीन था। अगर ना दिया होता वो वचन मैंने कुंती माता को, तो पांडवों के खून से मैं धोता अपने हाथ को।
Amity School of Languages has always aimed at raising the education linked with values and humanity.
ASL Coffee House was born in 2020. Within a short span of 2 years, the club organized events like inter-departmental fest, debate competitions, 5-day national workshop, etc.
Good communication is the bridge between confusion and clarity. Rightly said by Nat Turner. ASL Coffee House, a communication skills club where we try to enhance not only our speaking skills but also brush up our personality for a wholesome development.
Coffee houses increasingly became popular for sharing information and current news. With the same intention, the name Coffee House was given to our club so that our students can get a suitable platform for sharing their views and honing their skills.
What do we talk in our coffee house? What do we discuss? What do we ponder upon? We discuss the issues that are related to mankind. We discuss the issues that affect the cause of humanity all over the world.
I joined this team alumni coordination in the second year of my college, and since then the journey has been wonderful. I have learned a lot being the coordinator of the team alumni coordination, and we have various sessions every month. Even in the pandemic, we have tried to conduct sessions in each month, and we have covered various topics like modernism, drama, theatre, cinema, performance, basics of English language, journalism, and so many more things.
The foremost example of something like this is a poem called In the Station of a Metro by Ezra Pound. It is merely of 3 lines, but it is exactly what Ezra Pound wanted from poetry: precise, clear, with a very sharp imagery. And this is the lesson modernists took.
On the slide, film or cinema is a composite art form which incorporates features of many fine art forms, performance art traditions, conventions of literature, and technological devices, ranging from the camera to the computer. Cinema is the storytelling form of or the narrative form of the 20th century.
That was an exquisite thread indeed. A dream does not become reality through magic. It takes sweat, determination, and hard work. Rightly said by Colin Powell, an American politician and activist. Similarly, this 9th International Conference's success is nothing short of a dream come true. There has been a lot of work put in to make this event feasible, whether it was the organizers or the presenters. Through sweat, determination, and hard work, everyone gave it their all. With a great degree of excitement, I request the technical team to now please project the glimpses of the 9th International Conference. Now we have with us Professor Vinita Mehta, who is a professor of French in the Department of World Languages and Literatures at Manhattanville College in Purchase, New York, where she teaches courses in French language, literature and culture and courses in the first year and honors program. She has published 2 books as well as book chapters and articles on French literature and film and on South Asian literature and film. Her most recent research and publications are in the area of Francophone graphic novel. Professor Vinita Mehta will be talking about the 2 graphic memoirs, Voices of the Other in Text and Image. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Kajal, for that nice introduction. I want to really thank all the organizers of this conference, Amity School of Languages, all your co-organizers, as well as the students who have done a splendid job. I especially want to thank Professor Shraddha Srivastava for her kind invitation to invite me to give this talk. I will be sharing my screen, so please bear with me as I get my PowerPoint up and get that going. Can you all see my screen? Yes?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, perfect. So my talk today is, as Kajal mentioned, is my most recent research has been in the area of the graphic novel. And since I'm a professor of French, I also wanted to, before I start my talk, I wanted to also kind of echo the points that different people made about the importance of learning languages. From my own personal experience, I did my bachelor's degree about 40 years ago at St. Xavier's College in the University of Bombay. At that time, it was Bombay. And I minored in French, and then I found my love for the languages love for French grew so much that I decided to do my master's and PhD in French. So that's my trajectory with languages. And while I was a student at St. Xavier's, I also took classes at the Alliance Française. So at the Alliance Française of Bombay at the time, and just to voice, I think it was Dr. Sayal who talked about the importance of learning German. So I took classes while I was a college student. So it's been an interesting, my love affair with French goes back many, many, many years. Anyway, so my talk today, as Kajal mentioned, has to do with an analysis of two graphic memoirs, Voices of the Other in Text and Image. And the two memoirs that I'm going to talk about is one called La Vie de Paye, or Paye's Life, written by Paye, which is a pen name for Patrick Esono, who's a Gabonese graphic artist. Hang on, I'm just trying to bring this up. Okay, sorry. And the second comparative, sorry, I'm trying to bring up my talk. Okay, and the second artist is Riyad Sattouf, who is a Franco-Syrian writer, and he has written 5 volumes. His name is Riyad Sattouf, and he's written 5 volumes of a book called The Arab of the Future. The 5th volume just came out quite recently, so I don't think it's been translated into English. So in French, the French title is L'Arabe du Futur, and they both write the text and do the artwork and the graphics and do illustrate their own work. So what I found interesting about the two is they both are memoirs or coming of age stories told in the graphic mode, which not only tell the story of their lives, but are at the same time are commenting also on the socio-political conditions of the countries in which they live and their engagement and observations of the broader context. So I was interested in looking at both because both do that, but in different ways. So what I'm going to share with you today is part of a larger paper, but I'm going to do a quick overview of these two writers, and I'm going to look at 4 themes. I'm going to look at how their own development as graphic artists, their thoughts on education, their own educational trajectory, and their engagement about, in the case of Paye, Africa and France, in the case of Riyad Sattouf, who as a child lived in Syria and Libya, his views on Syria, Libya, and then France, because he comes, as I said, he's Franco-Syrian, his mother is French, and his father is Syrian. So it's kind of an interesting view of multiple environments. So my first focus would be on Paye and Sattouf as graphic artists. And in this, and most of my slides are in French, so I'm going to try and explain them quickly in English. In the first one, I wanted to start with, this is Paye as a child who's really bored with school and ends up drawing images on the wall because he's so bored with what's going on in school. And then his work is really admired by his classmates, but of course the teacher is not happy with his work and punishes him. So you have Paye, who's very, very confident of his abilities as an artist from the very beginning. And here you have him when it's in a very self-reflexive fashion. He's talking to the audience and saying that he's been asked by an editor of a journal to write the story of his life. So he says, here I am sitting at my table writing my own story. So within his own novel, he's telling us so here you have the narrator and the writer whose identities are kind of fused together to tell the story. Later in volume 2, he once again addresses the audience and he's talking to his editor and talks about about the progress he's making in writing his memoir and writing his memories. And he talks about the time he spent in Paris studying in a middle school, as a student boarder in a Catholic school, studying for a diploma in accounting that he fails, convincing his sisters that he wants to be a comic book artist, and completing a course in an art school in Paris. He's disappointed, for example, in the art school because they do not teach much about comic book art, and their focus mainly is on painting and art history. Coming to Sattouf, Riyad Sattouf. Sattouf does not have the same confidence as an artist that Pae has. And here he is when he's very young. His father draws a Mercedes-Benz with no wheels, and then the little Riyad decides to draw the car with wheels, and the father is not happy with it. And he said no. So Riyad then goes back to doing the Mercedes-Benz without the wheels, with flat wheels like his father has done, and his father is very happy with that. So his father doesn't appreciate him as an artist. However, he's really appreciated by his grandmother and mother, because even as a very young child, he's able to do great portraits. And in this particular slide, you see that he does this particular portrait of the Président Pompidou, who is one of the presidents of France. And so they consider him a genius, right? And so the father also starts to accept his talent and his talent as an artist. When he goes to school in France, and just to show you the different colors, the color scheme in Riyad Sattouf's comic book is very important. In this particular scene, he is in the yellow is when they are in Libya. So each color scheme in the comic book represents the country he's living in at the time. So this one, he's in Libya because the father moves there to get a job. And here blue is France. So here he's back in France. And in the school, he's competing with students who cannot draw very well. All they do are scribbles. And so, of course, Sattouf can do real figurative drawings, but because he doesn't want to feel different, he decides to start scribbling. And so the teacher's remarking, okay, why are you scribbling? You can do really good art, etc. But he wants to fit in. And then as he grows as an artist, he gets exposed to the comic book series called Tintin, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. By Hergé, the Belgian comic book artist Hergé, and really he's impressed, and he's beginning to learn French. The pink represents the fact that they are in Syria, and his mother teaches him French. Finally, he has to learn Arabic while he's in Syria, but the mother and the father doesn't want his mother to teach him French, but eventually he learns French and is able to read Tintin in French. So we have him reading Tintin, and he's really amazed by the drawing that he sees. If to go back to the same reference to Tintin, on the other hand, to Pae, who's an African Gabonese, Tintin there was a very famous Hergé comic called Tintin au Congo, where Tintin was where Hergé did very stereotypical images of Tintin. So here you have the reaction of the people in Tintin. How can you read something like that? Because they're stereotyping the African figures in the comic book. In terms of education, you have this is Pae, who is when he goes to a French school. I don't have a slide for that. When he goes to the French school, he's identified as black, but when he studies, when he goes back to Gabon, so he moves between France and Gabon. When he goes back to Gabon, he's called a white person. He's considered white because he's lived in France. So the teacher here says, "Je vous présente le petit français gabonais," meaning I'm presenting to you the French Gabonese student. So he doesn't fit into either culture, right? So he's considered too white for the Africans and too black for the French. And in this scene, we have the same teachers who say, "Oh, your ancestors were black, but they were also Gauls," Gauls being the old name for France. And right next to him, you have again the use of comic book figures, the Asterix and Obelix, who are comic book figures, who were part of the comic book where France was still known as Gaul, and there was a little village that was not occupied by the Romans. And then you have another teacher who tells him, "But your ancestors are also Bantu, are also the Bantus, right?" So, and here you have an image of Chaka Zulu, who is the the African leader at the time. So again, you have these multiple identities that where Paye is confused. What am I? Am I French? Am I African? And so he kind of his identity is very fluid because he's able to kind of move very easily between France and Gabon. I chose this slide because this is a sign. This is a slide of little Riyad, who's the little figure, and that's his mother Clementine, and that's his father Abdel Razak, who is the Syrian leader. And his whole thing is that the only way the future of Arabs is by going to school. So the emphasis on education and school is very important. This is when Riyad first goes to school in Syria. There's emphasis here on corporal punishment. So he doesn't do some kind of, and also the education in Syria, which he recalls, is very politicized. And so you see her, you're slapping him on the wrist for something that he hadn't done. So this notion of corporal punishment, and Paye has the same memories of corporal punishment. As he grows older, we find that Riyad, the little Riyad, is still in Syria. Here, his teachers are very impressed by him. But as you see, you still have the stick in the hand. But they're very impressed by him because he's finally actually become one of the best students in the class. So he's actually learned Arabic and become expert at Arabic. And so he's considered one of the better students in the class. When he goes to France, his teachers really also have the same thing. They're very supportive. So the teacher is very supportive of him as opposed to the teacher in Syria who's not as supportive, right? So you have the difference in the educational system, the different ways he's actually the education in France and Syria. Their views on Africa and the Middle East. So in Paye's novel, there is a certain emphasis on all the dictatorships in France. So here you have a picture of Mobutu, who was the dictator of Zaire. The old name was Congo. And so he's kind of talking about how Zaire became the king became a dictator. And then in the same tone, you have Satouf. Also, you have the father Abdel Razak, who's very impressed by the dictatorships. Here you have Gaddafi when they go to Libya. And then you see these large portraits when you enter the airports here of Hafez al-Assad, who was the leader of Syria for many, many years. So the father takes the family to Libya and then to Syria, and then the admiration he has for the dictators. So you see similar things in both comic books. And in this particular conversation, you see the father who says, the Arab people, they need dictators. I love dictators because they're needed, because they are not, you have to educate them. And the only way you can educate them is, and so you need to force them. And so he's kind of making a case for dictatorships. And here he's talking about Gaddafi. He's forcing the Arabs to change, and that the Arabs have to be educated, and once they're educated, they can then eliminate the dictators. And at this point, the mother steps in and says, and who will take their place? Will it be young dictators? And so there's a kind of a ironic element here. And she sees the change in Abdel Razak, where he says, in the beginning, when I met you, you were ready to actually do a coup d'etat and actually get rid of some of these dictators. So you see, so while Satouf is telling his own story, he's also telling the story of his father and the changes that are taking place. The father becomes more and more Islamicized. He had studied in France and was very westernized, but when living in Syria, he becomes more of a Muslim. He begins to pray and says that he's going to start keeping the Ramadan fast, etc. He also circumcises his son, and here you see a scene of the circumcision of the Riyad character. The father, of course, is not present because he's afraid of blood. So we have this. The father also starts supporting honor killings, and so becomes more and more Islamicized as the story goes on. Their views on France. This is a slide from Paye's novel, where he's really interested in consumerism, right? So the big hypermarkets in France, which you don't have in Africa. So Mammouth is one of those hypermarkets. So he touches on consumerism in France, and then the racism faced by non-white French people when they arrive at French airports. So like the French population, North African and African population, they're frisked while the white passengers are allowed to leave. So you have the consumerism and then the racism that they face. Similarly, in Satouf's comic book, he's really impressed by the big supermarkets and the shelves of food that really attracts him. Because he had spent his childhood in Syria and Libya, where there were a lot of food shortages. So coming to France, he sees all the plethora of food and the availability of food. And another memory he has of France is that Satouf has of France is fishing with his grandmother, who's from Brittany. So his mother's family comes from Brittany in France, and they actually fish for crabs and spend a lot of time doing that. As he grows older, the images of France change. He faces racism because of his Franco-Syrian heritage, and a lot of the racism is, and even though he looks white, because even though he's half French, half Syrian, he looks white, and so he faces a lot of racism from the North African population because they're living in a housing estate in a suburb of Rennes, which is a city in Brittany. And so here he is, they, get out of here, you dirty French people. And so it's interesting that even though he's Franco-Syrian, he doesn't identify himself as part of the Maghrebi or the North African or the Arab population in France, which is also very interesting because his identity is both French and Syrian and Arabic. And finally, you have the father too, who had studied in France, has very love-hate relationships with France, but as he grows older, he starts criticizing France and its non-white population. So here he has making pejorative, racist remarks against Black French people, and then later on also making racist comments against North Africans, also making a lot of anti-Semitic remarks. So you have a change in the father also, who is who shows his racist views as he grows older. And here he's talking about how France, he said, France will one day be run over by the North Africans. Mark my words, it'll be run over by the Africans and the North Africans, or the Maghrébins, which is the North Africans. And he also shows his affiliation for the extreme right groups in France. My conclusion, again, I've gone through this very quickly. I'm hoping there'll be some questions. The last page in Paet's novel is very personal. So he has a 2-volume series, and in this last scene, his very favorite sister Florence dies. And if you look at the date of the slide, it's the 10th of September. So it's the eve of September 11th. So I think there's a double thing going on of here. At one point, he's mourning the death of his sister Florence, and at the same time, it's kind of a premonition of a kind of a global disaster, which was brought on by September 11th. This is my own reading of the slide. And he says, so that's the ending of the 5th volume of Satouf's graphic memoir is you have the father had actually kidnapped the younger son and taken him back to Syria. And here you see the Riyadh, an older Riyadh, sitting with his mother in the car, his younger brother at the back, his younger brother Yahya at the back, saying that he's going to bring Fadi back one day. And so the mother and the father by this time are estranged and divorced, and the father has taken the child with him to Syria. And if you look at the very bottom, he says, so this is not the end of the novel. There's going to be more to come. So it's kind of, he leaves the story unfinished. I'm going to stop. So just a few concluding remarks about this. Sorry, I'm just looking for my quick notes here. The ending, so therefore the ending, both graphic novels then serve as collective voices that examine through visual and print cultures the socio-political situation in colonial and post-colonial Africa, the Middle East, and contemporary post-colonial France. Paet educates the reader in his portrayal of colonial and post-colonial Gabon and France's treatment of the other, its immigrants from Africa and the Maghreb. Using his father as proxy, Satouf's memoir critically examines dictatorial regimes in the Middle East and multicultural France and its conduct towards non-white citizens. So, and I would love to be able to answer some questions. but I'm going to get out of the screen and get back to the meeting. So I don't know whether there are any questions, but I'm happy to take questions. I went through it very quickly. It's a much longer paper, but I just showed you some short slides about it. Thank you. I don't know, was it clear what I did? Because I know that I went through stuff very quickly, so I don't know whether you have any questions about just what I talked about.
Not any question as such, but for a non-Francophone country readers, what text would you recommend us if you want to start going into that genre of
have you heard of the Tintin series, the Tintin or the Asterix and Obelix series? Have you read those?
I've heard of the Tintin series. I've heard.
Yeah, you heard of the Tintin series. So that's a good comic book to start. It's a whole series that have been written. You'd have to have some French to be able to follow that. And there's also Obelix, Asterix and Obelix, which was the other mention I made. They're referenced within this because it's very much part of the culture. So both those series are referenced in these comic books because it's something that French people, know a lot. And one thing I must say about comic books in France, they're very much part of the French psyche. So if you go to a bookstore in France, the first floor is full of comic books. So comic books are not just superheroes or funnies, they are serious. They talk about serious issues. So if you go to France, you'll see young people just sitting on the floor reading comic books, because they talk about serious socio-political issues. I mean, I remember in India, for example, everything that I learned about the Ramayana and the Mahabharata came from the Amar Chitra Katha comics, right? So the use of comics to educate is definitely something that's quite prevalent in many of the countries like Africa and Africa too, because the countries in Africa speak so many different languages that often the visual is one way to reach people, right? So the notion of comics, again, in Africa, very, very interesting. Same thing in India, it's a multilingual country. So how do you reach people? You can reach people the quickest way to reach people is through image, through the visual. So.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sorry, I hope I kept my time. Did I go over?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. No, ma'am, that was perfect.
Thank you, ma'am, for giving us your precious time. We are very grateful for this session. Moving forward. So, in the words of Sadhguru, integrity, insight, and inclusiveness are the three essential qualities of leadership. Those qualities were perfectly portrayed by Ms. Shraddha Srivastava, Assistant Professor at Amity School of Languages, who has been the part of ASL faculty since 2007. She's the very coordinator of this conference who worked diligently to make this conference a success. She went on to Germany for her training program in German on a 100% scholarship by Indo-German Teachers Association. She has published a series of workbooks in German language. Along with that, she has presented various papers in national as well as international conferences. Conducting and managing events or conferences is her passion, as we students have witnessed. So with that, I would request her to say a few words on this occasion.
Thank you, Kajal, for such a lovely introduction. I hope I am audible to everyone.
Yes, you're audible.
Okay, thank you. I am very grateful to our director and convener of the conference, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, for showing her faith in me to coordinate this 9th International Conference. My special thanks to my dear friend, Dr. Seval, who put her hand forward to organizing this conference together and her unconditional support whenever required. Danke, Seval. Every successful event requires hard work, dedication, devotion, passion, is what was displayed tremendously by our students, and the result is in front of you all. Thank you so much, my students team, for your efforts. I believe that one should always be in learning phase, and this conference gave me a new experience working with all the learned professors, participants, my colleagues, and of course my dear students. I thank each one of you from my heart for your unconditional support for making this event successful. Thank you so much, each one of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your words. With this, we come to an end of the 9th International Conference. So now the house is open. We now have certain dignitaries and students with us who would like to share their experience about the conference. So first and foremost, we have Ms. Ekta Sahani. So I request you to please come forward and share your views.
Yeah, good evening. Am I audible and visible?
Yes, you're audible.
Nice to see you all. Good evening, Manjari ma'am, Satyarth sir. Good evening.
Good evening, good evening.
Yeah, since I have been a student at Amity around 2008, 2009, so, and you all have been my teachers. So it was a pleasure coming back, and it was a pleasure attending this conference. Well, I've been asked to give my feedback on this. So, according to me, a conference of this magnitude, there are two parameters which determine the success of such a conference. One is the efficiency, and the other is the effectiveness with which the conference is being conducted. And honestly speaking, I did not find this conference lacking in any of these two. So the way the conference was conducted, the way the compeers did the comparing, everything, the sessions, the guest speakers, everything was conducted so smoothly and so nicely. And I would just quote a little incident where around a week and a half back, I was trying to register myself for the conference, and I spoke to Dr. Shraddha. That was the first time when I was speaking to her, and I said that, ma'am, I'm having problems in registering myself. I had already submitted my paper and everything like that. And she said that, ma'am, okay, if you're having problems, I am going to pay on your behalf and you pay to me. So that was the kind of professionalism, and I felt so nice talking to her. And she was the one who solved all of my problems, and I was able to register and present my paper ultimately. So this was the kind of professionalism, and like, it was very nice being a part of this conference. A very big thanks and congratulations to the organizing team, and especially to the director, Professor Kumkumbre, for organizing such a good and great conference. And I want to be a part of this, the forthcoming conferences maybe. Again, I'd like to look forward to the same. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for your wise comments. Now, next we have Mr. Ajit Singh. So I request you, sir, to please come forward and speak.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am. First of all, this is my first conference I attended at Amity University, though I've opted for offline option, but nevertheless, but I would like to mention few names which a person very much impressed the way you the anchors have organized, especially the youngsters like Priyanshi ma'am, Ishita ma'am, Kajal ma'am, and Paramita ma'am. I am really very mesmerized the way they have conducted. And one thing which I would like to mention, that this conference is very accurate in terms of time management. I really learned a lot how to be precise on time. I'm very thankful to Priyanshi ma'am. She reminded me, and I would like to mention one more incident, as Swani ma'am has mentioned that I was not able to submit my paper till 17th, and when I requested to Shraddha ma'am, and that was my first message. But I'm very thankful to Shraddha ma'am. She took it very seriously, and she responded me so quickly, and my paper was accepted. So thanks a lot, ma'am, to you. A very great thank you to all the committee members, to the host, to the technical team, and I learned a lot from the sessions. One name I would like to mention of Professor Sani, so from JNU University. I like the way he expressed his critical views on the papers. It was really a learning experience for me. So thank you, and I really am looking forward to participate in more events as such in future. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Moving on, we have Millie Singh, student at Amity School of Languages.
Thank you, Kajal. First of all, good evening, everyone. Uh, to begin with, I would like to say that I'm grateful for the opportunity that I was given. I was considered to give the work that the teachers felt that it was the right thing to do. And I've learned a lot. This conference has been the learning experience for me. And one thing that I've realized that if I have, if I was not the part of the core team, I would have never realized that how such a big event takes place in an online mode, because the hard work that the team has been putting since 4 months and the faculties even before us, that is something commendable. So yeah, that's all I can say because this has been a learning experience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Millie. Last but not the least, we have with us Paramita Thekchandani, student at Amity School of Languages.
Good evening, everybody. Basically, this conference and everyone, this experience has been so good for me. The teachers, when we planned to start the event, Shraddha ma'am came to us and we all planned every day. Like from 5 to 6 months, we are planning this conference every day. And everybody, whether my seniors, teachers, or faculty members, they have been coordinating so well with us to make this happen. This is just the outcome report, but what happens behind is way too much. And this brings a lot to us. Like this brings coordination in us, integration in us. We work as a team and we become members like a family. This has been very great. Coming here and listening to so many speakers, so many prominent speakers from all over the world, gave us many cultural values, imbibe in us so enthusiastic spirits. We learn how people talk in France, how their accent works. We learn about their culture, how they greet other people, how people are becoming successful. Like Dr. Gagan Sayal was talking today about our career opportunities. We learn a lot. It's not just about academically growing, but Amity told us how to grow professionally. And this is one of the biggest things that we enjoy here. So it has always been a pleasure to talk at this platform, to be a part of ASL and so on. Over to you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for sharing your feedback with us. We have a little feedback form that we've shared the link in the chat box. We'd be very grateful if you all participants and the team members can fill those forms for us. Moving on, we have with us Dr. ABR Prasad, currently working as an associate professor in Amity University, Lucknow campus, the most dedicated faculty member who strives day in and day out to become better as a teacher and moreover as a person. He is a gold medalist in BA and has close to 2 decades of teaching experience in different parts of India. He has presented more than 40 papers in various national and international conferences. His expert areas include diaspora literature, English language teaching, Indian writing in English, and many other fields. I request Sir to give the vote of thanks and bring a beautiful conclusion to these 2 days of fruitful and engaging conference. Over to you, Sir.
Thank you, Priyanshi, for the kind words that you spoke. Now, as I get all ready to give the vote of thanks, so many thoughts crisscross my mind. You wait patiently to deliver the vote of thanks, and by the time you get ready to give the vote of thanks, you come across some faces that look slightly tired. But anyway, it is my duty to give the vote of thanks. First and foremost, I bow my head in veneration to the Almighty, whose benedictions are extremely important for organizing such an international conference of this magnitude. I am duty bound to express my gratitude to Honorable Founder President Dr. Ashok K. Chauhan, Honorable Chancellor, Amity University, Uttar Pradesh, and the patron of this conference, Dr. Asim Chauhan, distinguished Vice Chancellor, Dr. Balvinder Shukla, revered Pro Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sunil Daneshwar. So, having extended my thanks to the authorities of the university, I take this platform to thank our esteemed Director Director, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray. First and foremost, I would like to tell you just one or two lines. I feel privileged and honored to work under the leadership of our distinguished director, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray, who is a constant source of guidance and support to all of us. Without her invaluable contribution and motivation, this international conference would not have taken place. I request our enlightened audience to give a huge round of applause to our esteemed director, Professor Dr. Kumkum Ray. Thank you, audience. I owe a deep sense of gratitude to Mr. Chandan Singh Singer, Honorable President, Life Science Chemicals, for accepting our invitation at a very short notice and gracing this occasion. Just a few hours before or just one day before, our other esteemed chief guest got affected due to COVID, and we had to extend an invitation almost at the 11th hour, and sir immediately accepted and graced this occasion. So I am very much obliged to you, sir. Thank you very much. I take this opportunity to express my gratitude to Dr. Abhishek Kumar, researcher at Kajal University, Germany, for enlightening everyone with his words of wisdom. I am very much obliged to Dr. Gagan Sial, CEO, S Germany, for spending precious moments with us and enthralling everyone by talking about the various prospects in Germany. In fact, I have listened to Dr. Gagan Sial already, if I remember correctly, and sir once again gave a wonderful presentation, and I sincerely hope our students benefit a lot by thinking about the career prospects in Germany. Next, I am thankful to Mr. Pratik Hira, CEO Tornos, for adding luster to the two-day international conference by his magnetic personality. I sincerely acknowledge the expertise of Professor Binita Mehta, Manhattanville College in Purchase, New York, for giving an unforgettable speech. The way she made the students understand French language and culture, it left me spellbound. Thank you, madam. Now, I am extremely honored to thank Dr. Seval, who gave a wonderful presentation yesterday. She also helped us throughout, and whenever our coordinator, Madam Shraddha Srivastava, needed any assistance, Dr. Seval was always there to help us. So thank you, madam. I am very much pleased to thank one of my colleagues who is the coordinator of this conference, Madam Shraddha Srivastava, for keeping the morale high at all times and playing a vital role in organizing an event of this magnitude. In fact, I would say that she is the glue for this conference. She connected all of us and made us to give our best. Thank you, Madam Shraddha. Now, my special thanks to each and every member of the organizing committee for burning the midnight oil and finishing everything within the stipulated time. I was closely looking at the watch, and if I am right, just 4 or 5 minutes here and there. That is all. Everything was planned very beautifully and executed in a completely professional manner. So kudos to the organizing team. Now, I have got so many names to thank. Just bear with me for a few more minutes so that I do full justice to this duty of extending the vote of thanks. Each and every faculty member of Amity School of Languages, ASL Lucknow campus, deserves a round of applause. I am obliged to each and every faculty member of Amity School of Languages, foreign business languages which include German, French, and Spanish. At this juncture, I would also like to specially thank one of my colleagues, Dr. Manjari Jori, for giving a wonderful PowerPoint presentation highlighting the important events that took place on the inaugural day. Thank you very much, madam. It was indeed a very professional performance. Thank you very much. Now, I take this opportunity to thank my esteemed faculty members, Dr. Nidhi Mehta, Dr. Archana Gupta, Dr. Kaushal Yadav, for conducting the paper presentation sessions like a well-oiled machine in a very beautiful manner. I was not there personally, but I was just finding out everything. Yesterday as well as today, everything was done in a really beautiful manner. So I thank each and every one of my esteemed colleagues for giving their best. At this juncture, I would like to thank our Professor Dr. Satyarth Prakash Tripathi. I know sir would have certainly missed a heartbeat or two in the last few days. Let me tell you one thing which I have not shared with anyone till now. Whenever any doubt creeps in my mind and whenever I want any clarification, I instantly ring up to him. Whether it is night or day, sir is there to always share his words of wisdom. So every day I learn from you, sir, and it is indeed a learning experience for me. I'm learning a lot from you, sir. Thank you very much. I would also like to thank Ms. Ada Deva, who has been working tirelessly behind coordinating everything and doing her bit regarding press coverage. Thank you, Ada madam. Now is the time to thank my dear students. I really don't have words to appreciate your contribution. So, though I believe a lot in rehearsal, practice, this and that, even today we were practicing, but I was not there to watch your performance because I was in some other meeting doing other works also. But I know all of you would have done a commendable job. My thanks to all my dear students, Paramita, Navya, Shubi, Priyanshi, Mili, Ishita, Shiza, Akansha Jha, Kajal, Ashwati Prakash, Anushka Biswas, Ilma Khan, Gauri, Shubhangi Sharan, and each and every member of the technical team headed by Mr. Rohit Yadav, who conducted so many meetings. I know how difficult it is to organize meetings, bringing all the students together, organizing meetings day after day. Simply my heart goes out to Mr. Rohit Yadav. Thank you very much, Mr. Rohit, for organizing so many meetings and bringing this and making sure that everything falls in place. Thank you very much. I think I didn't miss out even a single name. I tried my best to cover all the names as far as possible. And before I put the curtains to my speech, I owe a deep sense of gratitude to our joint collaborators of the event, Muğla, Sıtkı, Koçman University, University of Turkey, yes, Germany, PFH University, Germany, Alliance de France, Lucknow. So with this, I have come to the end of my vote of thanks. Just 4 lines, please listen to me, and then I pass on the mic to my anchor. ये सफर हमारा यहीं खत्म नहीं होता. Let me repeat. ये सफर हमारा यहीं खत्म नहीं होता. हम उन चंद पक्षियों की तरह हैं जो आज एक पेड़ पर मिले हैं. कल हम अपनी अपनी मंजिल की ओर चले जाएंगे. पर मुझे विश्वास है कि कहीं न किसी मोड़ पे हम इसी तरह जरूर मिलेंगे. So with these words, I put a temporary full stop to my speech. Thank you very much. Thank you one and all. And Lord, let God bless all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for expressing your humble gratitude for everyone. Respected audience, I would now like to direct your attention to our national song, Vande Mataram, which reminds us of the nation's glory, beauty, and rich heritage. Let's pay a salute to the national song.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujala Suphala, Malayaj Sheetala, Sasya Syamala Mataram, Vande Mataram, Shubhra Jyotsna Pulakita Pullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini Suhasini Sumadhura Bhashini Sukhadam Varadam Mataram Vande Mataram Vande
Every beginning has an end, and every end is a new beginning. And by the time we got to the finish, we'd learned a lot, acquired a lot, and matured a lot as a team. I'm grateful to all the eminent professors, distinguished visitors, accomplished speakers, and the attentive audience for their active involvement and undivided attention. We are also thankful to the collaborators of the event, Alliance Francis, Muğla City Koçman University, Yes Germany, Perfect Language Institute, and Fachhochschule der Mittelstand. I request you all to please now turn on your cameras so that the technical team may take the pictures of the event.
इन दोनों को मिला के 1 होना चाहिए। अगर ये लिखा है ये 10% है तो फिर गलत। अगर वो लिखा है तो एक ओवरहेड कैलकुलेट करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। ये स्पेन वाला ठीक है।
Done. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining and giving us your precious time. Now you all may disperse.
Thank you, students. Well done, all of you. Very well done.